Hello everyone, and welcome to my General Hospital official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Lulu unexpectedly reunites with, spoiler, and the jury will decide Ava's future. On General Hospital today, Brooklyn and Chase are working on having a baby. Lucky cautions Cyrus to avoid his sister, and James notifies Maxie to a stranger in their house. Sasha, in a panic, tells Maxie in her bathroom that she doesn't think she can pull this off. Maxie claims that although she has a network of supporters, she must ultimately act in her own best interests. Lulu enters via the front entrance and surveys the living room, perplexed by the changes. "Who are you?" says James as he brings out a tray of cookies. "Who are you and why are you in my house?" she says. "This is my house," says James. Lulu is adamant that it is her home. James starts shouting abruptly, "Mom! Stranger peril!" Sasha is following Maxie as she runs with a bat. Maxie is shocked that James made a joke about stranger danger and questions why he is eating cookies and getting out of bed. James maintains that a woman was there in the residence. After telling him the door was locked, Maxie discovers it was unlocked. He claims that a woman was present. When Maxie goes outside, she discovers that the spare key is gone, hidden beneath a phony rock. Sasha makes the decision to go so Maxie can deal with James. When Spinelli gets home after leaving, she finds out that James said there was an odd woman living there. According to James, it's true. Spinelli believes he has the answer to this riddle. His phone allows him to view the video that he put at the entrance door. They do discover a woman allowing herself entry on the recording, but her hoodie obscures her face. James is asked to describe this woman after Maxie apologizes. She had blonde hair like her, according to James. Spinelli recommends that they bring him to the PCPD so they can describe him. James is eager to assist in solving the crime. While they work this out, Maxie instructs her son to sit on the couch. As he flips through a picture album on the table, he exclaims, "This is her. The female visitor to our home." Spinelli and Maxie notice that it's a picture of Lulu. Liz and Lucky are shocked that Cyrus was given access to Lulu by the staff at Turning Woods. According to the manager, Cyrus is family, and he believed he was capable of making judgments regarding Lulu. Lucky exclaims, "He does, for heaven's sake." In order to learn what happened to her sister, Lucky insists on seeing the security tape. The manager claims he will speak with security, but due to necessary procedures, they might not get access to the video until the next morning. After accusing him of being incompetent, Lucky leaves. An orderly from Turning Woods calls Cyrus while he's working at the Port Charles Grill. He claims that Lucky has arrived and is angry over Lulu's absence. Later, Lucky shows up and asks Cyrus where his sister is. She's at Turning Woods, Cyrus thinks. Although Lucky claims she isn't, he is aware that Cyrus has visited and that he has no right to be with Lulu. With Laura running the city and looking after Ace, and Lucky rarely on the continent, Cyrus says he's the only member of the family who has been there for Lulu lately. According to Lucky, he has communicated to the Turning Point personnel that Cyrus is not family and is not welcome. Since he has been gone for 10 years, Lucky is not inclined to discuss family matters with Cyrus, who believes that Lulu needs him. Before they discuss parenting, Cyrus advises Lucky to spend over a month with his own child. The males split up after Liz intervenes. Thereafter, Lucky receives a message from Turning Woods containing the surveillance footage. They study it and discover that Lulu is awake and has left the building. Chase asks Olivia, Gio, and Lois in the Quartermain living room whether anybody has seen Brooklyn. After hurriedly telling Chase that he must finish the film, Brooklyn yanks him away. Since they are aware of what is happening, the others chuckle. Chase and Brooklyn tear each other's clothes off and collapse on their bed in their bedroom. Brooklyn tells him that she never wants them to feel like having a baby is work after they make love. He gets it. If he agrees, she has another mission for him, and they resume their battle. Brooklyn quips later that it didn't feel like a chore. Chase talks about all the things he looks forward to, including Christmas, birthdays, and all the firsts. Gio leaves for practice back in the living area, and Olivia tells Lois that she will soon be a Nona. It would be unlucky for Lois to put the stroller before the baby. Olivia is certain that Brooklyn will make her the room's second most proud Nona. Lulu discovers Gio rehearsing the national anthem by the boathouse. Gio responds that he is from Quartermain and that his Aunt Lois brought him here when she wonders who he is. Since Lois resides in Bensonhurst, Lulu is perplexed. He asks who she is and responds that they both did. Since she's had enough of stranger danger for the evening, Lulu makes the decision to go. Lulu enters the living room of the Quartermain home through the front door and observes all the changes. Rocco shows up out of nowhere and asks, "Mom?" When Lulu sees her son, she is astounded. Rick questions Christina in court about if defending her father was more crucial than defending Molly's unborn child. He shouts that Irene Davis Ashford died as a result of her deeds. "That's enough, leave her alone," Alexis says to Rick as she gets to her feet. Threatening to hold Alexis in contempt, the court issues an order. Rick should be held in contempt, according to Alexis, for harassing a witness. Alexis is ordered to leave when the court declares a recess. She is escorted out by Sunny. Christina can resign, according to Rick, who says he has no more questions for her. Christina, who believes she botched it, is comforted by Dante. Jurors react to Dante's claim that she revealed the truth. Molly informs TJ that she will never be able to forgive herself if Christina's testimony results in Ava being found not guilty. Molly walks up to Christina and apologizes, allowing her mother to take her home. Christina is adamant that she is not leaving. Alexis is a complete mess as Sunny drags her out. She was terrified of this and worries that Christina will hold herself responsible for her daughter's passing because of Rick. She tells Sunny that he must return inside and be with Christina before he can offer to drive her home. When the court reconvenes, Rick summons Natalia to testify. Playing the 911 recording of her call, he asks her about her recent vehicle accident and reveals that Christina was the other person involved. When he asks Natalia about Christina's emotional state, she responds that the accident left her feeling rattled. To the surprise of Sunny and Christina, Natalia says she was the cause of the disaster when Rick asks who did it. Natalia explains that a text message from her daughter, with whom she had been estranged, diverted her attention. Glancing down at it, she veered into the opposite lane. She claims that they worked things out between themselves and avoided involving the police or insurance. Natalia is free to resign, and Rick has no more questions. Next, Rick summons Molly to the stand. She is questioned by Rick about being with Christina at the time of Ava's subpoena. According to Molly, Christina was determined not to testify because she feared implicating her father. When Rick asks what she advised Christina to do, Molly responds that she urged her not to speak to Ava. Rick inquires as to if she is implying that an enraged Christina sought out Ava in order to defend her father. "That's right," replies Molly, and Rick doesn't have any more questions. Then Ava is summoned to the platform. According to her, Christina was upset when she got to her suite that day. After being prompted by Rick, Ava relates that Christina became irate and insisted that she withdraw the subpoena. According to Ava, Christina threatened to bring up the supposed charges against her from the past. If she touched Christina, Rick asks. Ava acknowledges that she did, placing her hand on Christina's shoulder as she approached. Christina stumbled and fell through the window at that point, pulling back and away. She mentions that Christina fell over a man's duffel bag from a previous relationship, so she changed it out for shoes because she didn't want him to get involved. Rick inquires as to whether she intended to hurt Christina or her child. Ava cries that she would never harm a child and that, having experienced child loss herself, she would never want it on anyone. If she had any regrets about that day, Rick asks. Ava laments that a baby died when she didn't have to, and no mother should have to go through that. Rick claims he doesn't have any more queries. Christina's icy gaze is fixed on Ava. The ADA and Rick make their final remarks. According to the ADA, Ava constructed the crime scene, lied about moving the bag, closing the drapes, and interacting with an FBI agent, and she acknowledged having trouble with Christina. She maintains that Ava must be found guilty of both the baby's death and manslaughter. According to Rick, this was a tragedy, and it's normal to want to place blame when such events occur. According to Rick, nobody is always at blame. He contends that when Christina went to see Ava, she was upset, and the two of them got into a fight. Christina fell through the window after tripping over a piece of luggage during the dispute. He claims that although everything was terrible and awful, there was no criminality. He believes it's a tragedy since both parties have pondered what might have been if they had acted differently. A kid died as a result of arbitrary choices, and it would be much more awful to assign the blame incorrectly. He assures them that this was a tragedy and an accident, and that everyone must go on and get better. To discuss, the jury is sent to the jury room. They now need to hope that one of the jurors concurs with Rick, who did an excellent job, according to Ava. TJ, Molly, Christina, Dante, and Sunny leave. TJ wants to know Molly's opinion. According to her, this was a tragedy. The courtroom battle, the last defense of Rick Lansing. As Rick Lansing strode thoughtfully in front of the jury, his mind running through his final points of strategy, the atmosphere in the courtroom was charged with expectancy. The trial had been difficult, with many turns, passionate evidence, and the constant influence of public opinion. Now, however, it was time to close the case. As Molly Lansing Davis sat on the witness stand, clearly divided between her natural desire to speak the truth and her allegiance to her sister, Christina Corinthos Davis, Rick's next move was vital. After examining her face, Rick moved forward. Molly, are you saying that Christina specifically sought out Ava Jerome to defend her father in a fit of wrath? Rick's tone conveyed a challenge despite his calm voice. After a moment of hesitation and a quick glance at the stony-faced Christina, Molly nodded. She said softly, "That's right," her words lingering in the air. Although Rick's jaw tensed, he gave a brief nod. "No more questions," he murmured, returning to his table as his thoughts were already changing. Ava steps up. When Ava Jerome was called to the witness stand, the silence in the room got even more intense. Well-groomed but clearly nervous, she took her oath and sat down, her keen eyes darting across the jury before focusing on Rick. So Rick walked steadily toward Ava. "Ms. Jerome," he said calmly, "could you tell us what transpired the day Christina visited your suite?" Ava gave a shaky sigh. She said, her voice shaking but getting stronger as she went on, "Christina was upset when she arrived. Very agitated." Rick offered her a slight encouraging nod. What took place next? Recalling the heated discussion, Ava's voice rose a little as she continued. "She was yelling, demanding that I withdraw the subpoena. She said I pulled her into something she didn't want to be involved in." Rick's face stayed expressionless. "Then?" Ava stopped, her eyes sparkling with tears she hadn't yet wept. Her voice cracked as she said, "She threatened me. She said that if I didn't comply, she would bring up old charges against me, things from my past." "Have you ever touched Christina?" Leaning forward a little, Rick inquired. Ava paused and grabbed for a glass of water on the stand, her hand shaking. "Yes," she acknowledged. In an attempt to soothe her, I put my hand on her shoulder, but she retreated, and then stumbled. She went through the window and fell. The judge called for order as there was a quiet murmur in the courtroom. As he continued, Rick furrowed his brow. "She stumbled, you said. Why did she fall?" Ava admitted there was a duffel bag, one left behind by an ex. As she retreated, she stumbled over it. Then, in a panic, I moved it and put shoes in its place. I wanted no one else to become involved. Rick's tone grew softer. "Did you never plan to hurt Christina or her child, Ava?" Tears streamed down Ava's face, and her calmness broke. "Always," she cried. "I'd never harm a kid. I understand the pain of losing a child. Not even my worst enemy would experience that agony." Rick waited for the moment to pass before making his last query. "Do you regret the events of that day?" As she talked, Ava's shoulders trembled. "All the days of my life," she muttered. "An infant passed away when it didn't have to. That should never have to happen to a mother." Rick gave a serious nod. "No more inquiries." The final argument of the ADA. The ADA stood for her closing remarks when Ava's testimony was over. She spoke in a harsh, uncompromising tone. She paced in front of them and said, "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Ava Jerome is painted in a negative light by what we've heard today. She shifted evidence, lied about the crime scene, and acknowledged manipulating details for her personal gain. She had a tumultuous past with Christina Corinthos Davis, and she killed an innocent child that day. It's more than just a tragedy. Manslaughter is what this is. Ava Jerome needs to answer for her actions." With a determined attitude, the ADA went back to her seat. Rick's last argument. Rick got up and walked up to the jury, buttoning his jacket. He spoke in a soothing, almost melancholy tone. He started by pointing to Ava and Christina and saying, "This is a tragedy. A terrible catastrophe that makes no sense. And it's human nature to find someone to blame when catastrophes like this happen. However, it is unfair to hold Ava Jerome responsible for an accident." When Christina visited Ava's suite, she was upset. Emotions were running high and words were being exchanged when Christina tripped over a duffel bag and fell through the glass. Was it awful? Indeed. Could it have been avoided? Maybe. However, was it illegal? Rick hesitated, allowing the query to linger. That day's events were really an accident. Placing blame where none belongs won't help two heartbroken families find peace or closure. It will just make the suffering worse. Sasha's possible pregnancy, Cody and Lulu's roadside encounter, and Rick breaks Christina on the stand. Sasha's confession to Maxie. Sasha Gilmore visits Maxie Jones with big news. She thinks she might be pregnant. Maxie, shocked but supportive, asks if Cody Bell is the father. Sasha clarifies that she and Cody never got that far. After breaking up with Cody, Sasha admits she had a one-night stand with someone else who was also struggling emotionally. She hasn't taken a test yet but confesses feeling off. Sasha is apprehensive about the possibility of pregnancy after losing her son, Liam. Maxie reassures her, offering support and reminding her that Felicia and Nina would also step in to help. While Sasha feels she could handle being a single mother, the thought of losing another child terrifies her. Maxie advises her to take things one step at a time. Their conversation is interrupted when James runs in with a scrape, a playful reminder of motherhood's daily challenges. Cody drives Lulu home. After escaping from Turning Woods during a false fire alarm, Lulu Spencer is found on the side of the road by Cody. Recognizing her distress, he offers her a ride. As they drive, Lulu refuses to share her address, wary of trusting a stranger. Cody reassures her, offering her cash and his address so she can repay him later. During their chat, they bond over horses and family, with Lulu expressing her excitement to reunite with her children. She mentions feeling like she's missed so much and laments her long absence. Though Cody offers to take her to the hospital, Lulu insists she's just cold and will be fine once home. Lucky investigates Lulu's disappearance. At Turning Woods, Lucky Spencer and Elizabeth Weber learn about Lulu's disappearance during the chaos of a false alarm. They discover Cyrus Renault was her last visitor, raising alarms about his involvement. Meanwhile, Lucky meets with Liz at Bobby's. He offers to stay in town if she needs him. While Liz is confident in her innocence regarding Sam McCall's death, she worries about her nurses being implicated. Lucky uses his investigative skills to uncover who last administered Sam's medication. It was Liz, but everything checks out so far. Rick's battle in the courtroom. In the ongoing trial, Rick Lansing sharpens his focus on dismantling Christina Corinthos Davis' credibility. Christina on the stand. Rick questions Christina about her actions and motives, accusing her of lying. When she doesn't answer, he reserves the right to recall her later. At their desk, Ava Jerome questions Rick's strategy, but he assures her he's setting the stage to shift blame for the tragedy onto Christina. When Rick finally recalls Christina to the stand, he questions her about her decision to raise her child alone after agreeing to give the baby to her sister. "I guess your word doesn't mean very much, does it?" he says, prompting a warning from the judge. Rick presses Christina to list all the grievances she holds against Ava, including past accusations of murder. Christina admits she hates Ava and once threatened her. Rick capitalizes on this, pointing out inconsistencies in Christina's police statements and her tendency to act emotionally. He submits affidavits from witnesses confirming Christina's public outbursts against Ava. Finally, Rick argues that Christina's actions directly led to her fall and her child's death. The DA objects, but Rick keeps pushing, asking Christina if she considered her baby's safety when confronting Ava. Christina breaks down, repeating that she didn't kill her daughter. Dante testifies. Detective Dante Falconeri takes the stand next. The DA questions him about Ava Jerome's inconsistent story and implies Dante acted suspiciously on the day of the accident. Rick objects, then turns the tables during cross-examination. He challenges Dante's decision not to let his partner handle Ava's questioning, citing Dante's bias due to Ava's strained relationship with his family. Dante reluctantly admits to harboring doubts about Ava, giving Rick the opening he needs to plant further doubt in the jury's mind. Michael and Drew's conflict. Elsewhere, Michael Corinthos confirms to Drew Quartermain that he told Jason Morgan about what happened between Drew and Willow Corinthos. However, Michael hadn't anticipated Jason's aggressive reaction. This revelation sets the stage for more tension between Port Charles's power players. Closing thoughts. The drama in Port Charles continues to escalate. Sasha faces life-altering news, Lulu inches closer to reuniting with her family, and Rick plays a dangerous game in the courtroom. With emotions running high and alliances shifting, everyone must prepare for the fallout. Sasha is pregnant, Cody drives Lulu home, and Rick breaks Christina on the stand. Cody drives Lulu home, Sasha tells Maxie she might be pregnant, and Liz tells Lucky she's suspected of contributing to Sam's death. Lulu escaped from Turning Woods, Rick accused Christina of lying on the stand, and Michael proved Drew is crossing Curtis. In the courtroom, Christina is on the stand, Rick asks why she's lying. She doesn't answer. He won't question her now but reserves the right to do so later. Rick questions Christina when he returns to his desk. Ava asks what he's doing. Sonny doesn't trust what Rick is doing. Alexis is sure he will recall Christina when it works better for him. Sonny doesn't trust Rick. Dante is called to the stand and the DA questions him about the day of the accident. When he claims that Dante was acting suspiciously, Rick objects. The cop explains she changed her story several times. Dante on stand. When Rick questions Dante, he asks why he didn't let his partner question Ava given her conflicted relationship with his family. He pushes the cop to admit he has bias against Ava, much to the DA's dismay. The DA questions him about the ways that Ava changed her story. When the DA rests her case, the court adjourns for a break. Dante testifying at trial. Molly thanks TJ for being there and gives him a hug. Molly hugs TJ. Alexis tells Christina that Rick is just trying to look compassionate to the jury, but that is about to change. Christina Alexis talk case at their desk. Ava asks Rick what he plans to do. He makes it clear that he is about to convince the jury that the child's death is Christina's fault. Ava asks when Rick will defend. Rick calls Christina up and brings up her choice to raise the child on her own after agreeing to give it to her sister. I guess your word doesn't mean very much, does it? He says. The judge warns him. Rick questions Christina again. Rick questions Christina and gets her to explain all the things she blamed Ava for. Christina runs through the list, saying Ava killed Connie and her brother. Rick points out his client was not tried or convicted for any of that. Christina admits she hates Ava and threatened her. Christina on stand again. Christina tries backtracking on her statements and Rick points out that her statements to the police all contradict each other. He points out she lets her emotions get the better of her and brings up her accosting and threatening Ava in public. He enters the affidavits backing this up from witnesses. Rick grills Christina when he says that her actions lead directly to her fall and that makes her responsible for her child's death. The DA objects. Rick keeps pushing and asks Christina if she thought of her baby when she accosted Ava. Rick badgers Christina. He keeps pushing and blaming her and Christina repeats that she didn't kill her daughter. Lucky meets with Liz at Bobby's. He says that his sticking around depends on whether she needs him. The testimony of Trina. After Christina Corinthos Davis fell, Trina Robinson testifies that she witnessed Ava Jerome drawing the drapes. However, Trina acknowledges during cross-examination by Rick Lansing that she was not present for the events leading up to the tragedy. She admits that she is unable to determine if Christina was pushed by Ava or if there was another factor at play. Testimony from medical professionals. Before the fall, Dr. Frida Navarro provided testimony to Christina's safe pregnancy and the promising future. Speaking on the stand, the physician who cared for Christina following the fall describes how they were unable to save the infant. Although their testimony highlights the terrible events of that day, it offers no proof of Ava's guilt. Christina's heartfelt account. During her testimony, Christina describes her bond with her child and charges Ava with shoving her out the window. She explains her terrible loss with tears in her eyes and restates her accusation that Ava is to blame. During cross-examination, Rick dazzles the courtroom by directly questioning Christina about her deception. His forceful interrogation suggests that Christina's account has contradictions. The truth is revealed to viewers through flashbacks. During their altercation, Christina abruptly withdrew, stumbled over a bag, and fell out of the window. Ava took hold of Christina without pushing her. The terrible fall was an accident rather than a deliberate action. Rick reveals Christina's conflicting claims, implying that her testimony is influenced more by her feelings of loss and rage than by the truth. In order to support his argument that Christina's statements are untrustworthy and motivated by emotion, he introduces documents attesting to her previous threats and public charges against Ava. Rick's approach to defense. Despite her concerns during the trial, Rick assures Ava that his defense is proceeding as planned. He changes the subject by contending that Christina's allegations are baseless and motivated more by her emotional distress than by facts. Rick emphasizes that this tragedy was a freak event and not Ava's responsibility, even though her past transgressions and dubious morality are still indisputable. Was the baby's death caused by murder or accident? Christina's involvement in the circumstances leading up to the disaster is called into doubt by Rick's interrogation of her. Did her violent outburst and aggressive behavior against Ava play a role in her downfall? Even though Christina's trauma and loss are evident, her attempts to accuse Ava of murder seem more and more flimsy. The issue of perjury is also brought up in this trial. Christina runs the possibility of being charged herself if her account of what happened is willfully inaccurate. However, as everyone struggles with their responsibilities in the catastrophe, the courtroom drama mirrors a larger subject of grief and accountability. Dante's loss and relationship with Lulu. Dante Falconeri, meanwhile, is dealing with the fallout from Sam McCall's passing. Dante had intended to wed Sam and begin a new chapter in his life before to her untimely death. Sam's death from a digitalis overdose after donating her liver to rescue Lulu Spencer adds more layers of heartache and guilt. As Dante deals with the loss of Sam, his unresolved feelings for Lulu come back to the surface. It will take some time before he is prepared to examine those feelings or make peace with his past, even while his love for Lulu is still strong and unwavering. Final remarks. As Rick undermines Christina's testimony and casts doubt on her intentions, the courtroom drama heats up. Even though it appears that Ava was innocent of the baby's murder, the tragedy has left everyone feeling guilty, sad, and blamed. The emotional repercussions extends outside of the courtroom as Dante laments Sam and finds comfort in his recollections of Lulu. As the verdict draws near and the people of Port Charles work through these difficult times, stay tuned for further updates. Once Trina Robinson got on the stand, she was forced to confirm that she saw Ava close the curtains after Christina's tumble. However, Rick got Trina to clarify that she didn't see what happened before the fall and had no way of knowing if Christina was pushed. Dr. Frida Navarro also testified about her healthy delivery predictions up until Christina's fall changed everything. The doctor who was unable to save the baby following that tumble also answered questions in court. Ava whispered to Rick in the midst of all this since he seemingly wasn't doing a very good job of defending her. Rick hinted that things were going to change once Christina took the stand. Christina spoke to the prosecutor about her connection to the baby and eventually opened up about Ava pushing her out that window. After Christina talked about the pain of realizing her baby was gone, she pointed the finger at Ava once again. Once it was Rick's turn to question Christina, he stunned the courtroom by asking why she was lying. General Hospital spoilers say Christina will face Rick's tough grilling session as this trial continues, so we'll bring you updates on all the courtroom shockers. General Hospital spoilers reveal that Christina Corinthos Davis has been ranting for months about how Ava Jerome is responsible for her baby's demise. Christina is determined to make Ava pay the price, but GH fans know their face-off didn't go down the way Christina said it did. Even Christina herself knows that since she flashed back to what happened in Ava's hotel room that day. In the November 25th episode, Christina recalled the moments leading up to her tumble, which obviously didn't include Ava pushing her. It's true that Ava grabbed Christina during their confrontation, but Christina is the one who pulled back so dramatically and tripped over the bag on the floor. Christina then picked up momentum and smashed through the window in what was nearly a freak accident. Viewers have seen for themselves that Ava didn't intentionally send Christina plummeting multiple stories down. It's outrageous for Christina to be calling this murder, and she must know that on some level if her memories are that clear. That's why we can't help but root for Rick Lansing now that he's accused Christina of lying right there on the witness stand. Rick is right since Christina is indeed telling her own warped version of the story and trying to get Ava locked up. Since we've established that Christina is lying, we have to ask, does she deserve to go down for perjury? Christina isn't giving the truthful testimony she's sworn to give, so you could argue that she should face charges for that. Some fans might like to see Christina taken down a notch since she's become so annoying lately. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, so please don't forget to subscribe my channel and don't miss any update.